Hello, I'm Mona Santana. This is my daily gratitude list where I list and talk about 5 things I'm grateful for that hopefully you can relate to as well. Number 1, light bulbs. I am grateful for light bulbs. Light bulbs are everywhere. We have had them for over 100 years at this point. They've become something that we can't possibly live without, for sure. They're just completely everywhere in our lives all the time. But there was a time where we didn't have light bulbs and everything was lit with candlelight. And if it was dark, it was dark. That was that. We just had the moon and the stars. But now, we have nightlife because of light bulbs and the invention of light bulbs. And I think it's pretty amazing when you stop and think about how there was a time where we didn't have light anytime we wanted it. It was just simply you had to, live by the sun, and that was that. So I am very grateful for the fact that we can enjoy the night because I love it. So light bulbs are kind of the main reason for all of that, if you really break it down, which is kind of bonkers, right? So light bulbs are something we should definitely be grateful for. It's funny because they're in places that you wouldn't really think about, like they're in your oven, they're in the refrigerator, on your car, just you name it. Anyway, I don't need to sit here and list those things because you should probably just think about them throughout the day, and that way you can continue to practice this gratitude throughout the day and pay attention to where you see light bulbs today. I'm going to move on to number 2. So number 2, I'm grateful for stars. It's kind of in the same vein because obviously stars are a source of light in the sky, but I'm going to say stars because I think that the idea of stars is something that has also fascinated me personally since I was a kid. Just, I like to draw stars, and then just the use of stars in so many different places in our lives, just the as logos, as stars are just something that we have in as just since forever, obviously, because they're in the sky. But it's really a huge source of not like imagination and just sort of fascination as well, because there was a time where we didn't know what they were. We just look up in the sky and there's these stars, and I'm going to refer to the James Webb Telescope, which I happened to talk to in a previous gratitude list just a couple days ago. And it's interesting because the James Webb Telescope is now actually looking into the where stars came from, and like when they were first formed, and so we're learning so much more about the cosmos and everything that's out there and stars. And I just think that it's a great thing to to imagine and to think about. And so stars, I think, are just something that opens your mind to different things. And I'm not really sure I'm explaining myself really well right now, so I'm going to move on to number 3 because I think you could be appreciative of stars too, right? Because they're pretty cool. Number 3, I'm grateful for paint. All kinds of paint. The paint that you use to paint your house, that you paint your car, you paint everything that surrounds us. You use paint to make art. You may use paint to paint your face. If you're like me and like to wear a lot of makeup or too much makeup. But so paint, it's a pretty great thing because if you want to paint your living room purple, we'll paint it purple. If you want to paint your house pink, paint it pink. You probably can't really get away with painting it too many colors, at least not here. Depends on where you live, I suppose, but nevertheless, you can paint things all different colors, and you can use paints to make art. We have paint since forever. There's always been some kind of form of paint since practically the dawn of time, or humanity anyway. And I just think it's a really cool thing because you can get acrylic paint, you can get oils, you can get pastels. There's just so many different ways in which we can use paint. And I think that's a really cool thing, Nail polish even, that's a form of paint. So there's all different kinds of paint, and that colors our lives, which I think is pretty fantastic. So I am grateful for paint of all sorts, and you should be too. Number 4, I'm grateful for the Beatles. Personally, I love the Beatles. Beatles are my favorite band of all time. But I think that everyone should appreciate the Beatles, because I think that the Beatles were extremely influential on the music of, anything afterwards, anything after that. Of course, the Beatles were influenced by artists before them, but when the Beatles came about, it just caused this sort of music revolution in a way. And they were only together for a short time, relatively, about 10 years. And they created 12 studio albums that, to me, there's not a turkey in the bunch. Every single song on those albums, I think, are such a work of art. And I just love the Beatles. I've listened to them my whole life. I've just always been drawn to their music. And I've, heard on certain instances, sometimes people say, oh, the Beatles are overrated. But I just think that's ridiculous. And I will stand by those words. So if you have a different opinion about that, then argue with someone else. Because honestly, I just think that how can you deny the melodies? They're just so completely incredible and beautiful, and just the way that the band came together and the history of the Beatles. And I just think it's something that we should definitely appreciate, because the music that they made definitely improved our lives. So the Beatles are great, and I want to be very grateful for them, and see if there's actually an instance or instances today in which you either hear the Beatles or see something in which they influence the thing, because it's really incredible how much they've just sort of permeated our entire lives, which I think is something to be appreciative of. So, number 5, I am grateful for Thread. That's right, Thread. It's just like, why not Thread? Because, if you didn't have Thread, you couldn't sew clothes. This whole thing is made out of thread. Your shoes are probably stitched with thread. There's just so many uses for it that you wouldn't necessarily think about. But the use of thread, obviously we've been using it since forever. The Egyptians had a form of thread made out of some sort of plant filaments even. And so they used it as a way to sew. But now it's just much easier to produce thread and to make threads of all different kinds, and yarns and things like that. But these are things that we have not had since forever, and we produce them and manufacture these things. And there's countless things we use them for. And it's interesting to me to pay attention to the things around us so that we can appreciate them, and then have more of a sense of gratitude, obviously. And when you do that, it sort of makes it so that you default to more positive thoughts in your mind, because you start to have you start to have these thoughts that are more optimistic, because your brain naturally adapts to the practice of gratitude. So I honestly feel like I want to encourage as many people to continue to practice gratitude with me, or even on your own if you don't want to hear me yammer on about some random stuff. Maybe you just want to be like, oh, I'm grateful for my mom, and because those are things that I'm not really going to put on these lists, because certain things are more sort of personal items. I also have gratitude for certain things in my life that are more personal to me, like I love my dog, things like that. So, I will say that, but I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm grateful for pets, and then you just choose which, how to be grateful for that thing. But so anyway, I want to just make sure that everybody listens to these words seriously, because I know it kind of sounds trite sometimes to say, oh, I'm grateful for this or that. But it's really important to practice gratitude, because I promise you it makes your life better. It really does, in the long run, especially because your brain adapts to these kinds of thoughts. But it's like practicing. It's like building a muscle, but just in your brain. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you continue to do so. And I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe and also like and, follow me and all that. So have a lovely day, and I'll see you again later.